Hello, precious people. I'm Jacqueline Parks. Welcome to my studio, Stampin' Turtles. Today we are going to paint a sunset beach. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. Um, yes, y'all can hear me, so that is good. How are y'all doing today? It is a Monday, isn't it? And it's the new school year is starting in Baldwin County, so we are gearing up for all kinds of traffic in the mornings, traffic at 3 p.m. I don't like it, but that is the way it is. Anyways, today we're going to paint, and I don't even have a picture in front of me, but let me show you the what we're going to be painting today. So this is the class we did yesterday, Sunset Beach, and one of these I did during class. One of these I did a week or so before the class. Can you tell which is which? Can you tell which one I was concentrating more doing and which one I was kind of like screaming, trying to get it done in front of people? Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, Beth. Yes. Hi. Well, you can't cheat because you were at class. So you can't say which one's which. But if you want to guess in the chat, just let me know if it's the one on the left or the right. The one I painted during class. It is really interesting how I paint a little different when I'm in front of y'all and trying to teach and paint at the same time. But let me see if I can just let you guys know today I've got a lot going on, so it might not be a full hour. We'll see. I'm gonna try and go at least till 11. I want to show you also some things on my desk here. So also I am drinking the rooibos tea today. This is a pure rooibos red tea. Yum. I like it. It's good. I also put this raw honey in it from Coastal Comb Bee Company in Fairhope, Alabama. This is made by my pastor, so y'all should support. And it's good to have local honey, just so you know. If you have allergies, it helps with allergies. At least that's what I've been told. Now this is going to be a class that's at the end. Oh, Jerry's saying, hello, hello, I'm going to stay as long as I can, but I'm waiting on a call from AT&T. So I don't know how long I'll be able to join. That's great though, Jerry. You can join me. Thank you so much. I love your support. But this is going to be a sepia class, and I think it's going to be the 30th of August. So if you want to check out my website and sign up for the sepia class, it is on my website, stampinturtles.com. So I can do a square painting. I can do this shape painting, or I could do some little ACEO paintings. I don't know what I should do today. What size should I do? Tell me in the chat if I should do 4 small ones, that one, or a square one. I'm gonna have a bunch of these things. I do my little rigger today. A pencil. If you guys don't have a pencil, you need one with an eraser, because that's how I figure out what I'm gonna do. Janice says, I'm here. I'm be bopping around, but I'm here. Yay. Big. Ah ha ha. You knew it, didn't you? Didn't you? Yes. Well, I might do this square one because, you know, it's kind of fun to have a square painting. They need custom mats on them, so that's why. Let me see what else we've got here. Oh, I wanted to show you from class all the lovely paintings that we did. That was yesterday. So we have our friend Beth, my friend Alma, Faye, and Gina, and Shannon, and me. And we all did fabulous. I think they all turned out amazing. It was nice to just relax on a Sunday afternoon with y'all and paint. I'm trying to see. Oh, I didn't show you last week, but I wanted to show you last week. Shannon, who's in this picture, this is what Shannon made for everybody on her birthday. She had a birthday party, and she made these beautiful watercolor note cards for everyone with their name. And so she just hand watercolored every single card and used some pen to make the names. Gave everybody a little bouquet of flowers in a vase, and on the back was just the most touching, heartfelt sentiments for each of us, and made me cry. She's so wonderful, and I'm just blessed to have her in my life. And I'm grateful she still comes to my classes because I enjoy spending time with her. And also making soap. I just made this salt soap, and it smells delicious, like not yummy like eat, but like just very pretty. It's a Gulf Shores kind of smell if you go to the beach, so that's what it kind of smells like to me. And with a little hint of floral, so not too much, but it's like half of that bar is salt, and that'll be a wonderful spa experience. If you ever want some soap, hit me up. I got some soap for y'all. I got soap. Here's the samples one more time. If you guys want to sketch this real quick, I would just sketch the shoreline and the horizon. And maybe the peninsula, but really you don't have to sketch too much on this. We should be able to do it pretty quickly. I might do a close-up so you can see where I draw. Let's see. I'm going to use this pencil, and I'm going to do, I really am not that great with straight lines. Let me find something straight that I can use. Let's see if I can use the edge of this paper. You would think I have a ruler. I might, but it's a really big ruler. But yesterday's problem I had was my lines were not straight, and it was sadness because I had really crooked horizon line, but there's kind of a straight line. I'll put that little bit of a peninsula like that. I'm going to do the shoreline like that. And you probably can't see anything because it's really light. I do not press hard when I am sketching. No pressing hard. All right, so that is good. The one thing I did tell everyone they should possibly do if they can't remember to leave white space is draw their waves. So the top of a wave is straight and the cresting down is crooked. Can you see that? It's so light. There we go. See that? That's what I'm talking about when I say you can make some lines like that for your waves. So I might do a couple. And they kind of dip down a little bit, right? In the middle. I'm not even going by a reference photo. But the further away, they're going to be less big. So they're going to be just like little, barely even there. I don't know if I'm making too many, but it's probably okay to have more than you need. The one thing I do want to, before you get started, Janice, because you're probably already painting, but make sure you leave this area kind of light right through here. I'll show you on this one. See how the sun is reflecting on the water? So you do not want to paint blue straight across because we're going to be putting yellow there, but we're doing this step by step. So try not to go ahead of me. Try real hard. Do I have clean water? I have murky water, so it's fine. I got to move my tea because I'll probably dip my brush in the tea if I don't. I'm sure y'all can relate. All right, I got my paints. These are somewhat of the colors that I was using. Of course, my yellow is definitely greenish. Let's just stir all that sentiment back in there. Might as well, right? All right, so now I'm gonna wet my paints. They're still kind of wet from yesterday. I'm gonna wet the oranges though. They're not as hydrated as we should be. With the heat today, y'all, please stay hydrated. Drink your water, Gatorade. If you're going to do any yard work, go back and forth between Gatorade and water. If you don't do that, you're gonna get headaches, you're gonna get nauseous, you're gonna have to crash out on a couch and cool off like I do. I can't stand being outside for too long in the heat unless I'm in the pool. So that's the only way I can do it. All right, I've just hydrated all of my paints. They're all nice and wet, and I'm gonna let them keep absorbing that water for a short minute. Maybe not a full minute, just a little bit. I'm gonna push that water out of the way so you can see kind of my paints right there. I might mix over here. I'm gonna put all of these other brushes to the side because you don't need to see them unless I'm using them. I'm noticing there is some paint on the tip of my brush. I'm just gonna rinse it off. You do have paper towel. Always have to have paper towel in your hand. Janice says, I walked my 3 miles early. Good job. I need to start walking. I want people to walk with me, make me do it. All right, I am putting my brush in my water and I'm tapping off a little bit and I'm just gonna wet the sky. Only to our horizon, nothing below the horizon. Okay, so just somewhat clean water. You know, my water is somewhat murky because I don't change it out every week. And it sits for a whole week on my desk. I usually have paint time at my studio during the week. And this is where I do my videos, is at home. At the home. You can go over that peninsula. It's not going to be a big deal because it's going to be dark. So I have put a fair amount of water on here. It is absorbing into this paper. The reason I'm putting a lot is we're doing the wet and wet technique. So I do have some yellow. I'm going to dip in my yellow. See right here? Lemon yellow, if you really want to know. But you can use cad yellow. You can use any other yellows you have. But I like this light one. It's very light. So my sun is going to be somewhere right here. And I actually want some golden rays kind of breaching out a little bit, but not over here. Over here is going to be a dark purple. So just on this side, we're doing some of this, okay? And I've left some white space. Let me see. I'm pretty sure y'all can see what I am doing. Again, here's the finished painting, but we're not going to be painting it to look like the finished painting. We're painting the steps in between, and every layer matters. So you want to have every layer kind of dry and be, we're not going to really let this dry 100%. We're letting it dry a little bit. That's why I'm kind of hanging out here and talking, just to let it do its thing. I might go ahead and get some of my light cadmium orange, maybe. I don't know what color this orange is. I may put it on there and not like it. And sometimes that does happen where I put a color on there and I'm like, don't really like that color. But I kind of like this one. It's good. It's good. And I'm just noticing that where I lift, it kind of deposits a lot of paint. And I'm not sure I would like that. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to dab my brush. And I might just lift those blobbies right out. Push them around. Show them who's boss. You say, you behave how I want you to behave, not how you want to behave. So see, my dry brush that's kind of clean can push the paint around. And that's kind of what I'm doing. Showing it going, put your rays at an angle. I've seen some people like to make it straight across, but when you see skies, every cloud is like at an angle. For most sunsets, I think. I don't know why that is. I think it's just the way the wind is blowing, right? All right, so that is pretty. I am liking that a lot. I might just let this dry like it is. So what do we do if we're impatient? We can either use a heat tool, which I have this one from Stampin' Up, because I am a demonstrator and I do sell Stampin' Up if you guys are interested. But I'm not going to dry that. I think what I'm going to show you guys how I manage a painting if I have areas that need to be painted next to each other, but this isn't dry yet. So I will skip doing the water. I'm going to go down to the sand. And I do have some sandy color on here. But if you don't know how to make sand, let me show you real quick. I'm going to use this burnt sienna. See how red that burnt sienna is? Now I'm going to add a little bit of blue. I don't know which blue I used. It's just one of these blues. I'm adding blue. Now I'm going to add a little bit of this orangey color. And I'm going to keep mixing more of that orange in. It's a light orange. It's not a dark orange. So this is a nice color. I'm liking this color. I think this looks pretty good. And the more water I add to this, the lighter that beige is going to get, okay? So I may put it on here and not like it. We'll see. This is called the wet on dry technique. I'm not wetting the sand first. I'm just doing this with my brush. And notice how I'm painting everything, like all the way to the bottom. See how that looks? I like that. So that's our sandy color. Do I like that sandy color? I could come in with some clean water and just start going over it again, making it more wet just because it's kind of dark. That's one way to lighten it. You can lighten it once it's on your paper. I do kind of like the little streakiness that I can see. I don't know if you guys can see it. Another thing about painting is like sometimes you want to have the ability to tilt. And see how I'm tilting the paint towards the foamy water edge? That will make that darker edge if you want to do it like that. Or you just go in with a second layer once that dries. But that looks good. I like how that's looking. I don't know. I think my sky is kind of dry enough. So I might start working on my water. So the water is kind of, it can be tricky, right? But we're going to do the yellow first. So see how I'm dipping my tip of my brush in this yellow? And we want to make it in line with the sun. So I made my sun right there, and we want to go straight down with that yellow. And how wide to do that is kind of a preference, basically. So I am going around these lines that I already made for my waves, going underneath them, keeping some white space. And you can make your yellow go wide if you want. Make sure you have enough water on your brush. But I would say don't go all the way to the sand. Just keep it right about there. Because your sandy areas need to have a mixture of some greens and blues and turquoises. So I just added that in there. You can add just a titch of your darker yellow here and there. Don't have to do it everywhere, but it's kind of fun to add it in places. Keeping your white space for your waves, because you don't want to lose the white caps of those waves. So I think you can see what I'm doing. Here's the finished painting. Oh, hey, Beth. Thanks for joining. Yeah, we got 2 Beths, I think, in the chat. 2 Beths. That's good. So I'm just adding this yellow right in the center where the sun is. And that's all I'm doing. I'm going to rinse my brush, and I left white for the white caps. So now I'm rinsing my brush, and I'm going to make a blue. Let's see what color blue I want to make. So I have like a purpley here, a green here, my brownish color. I might put it right over here. And I like to mix a couple of my blues together. And sometimes I do add a little bit of turquoise into that blue, because I do have a turquoise blue. So I mixed all this, right? And now I'm going to try doing the sides. And I'm avoiding where I put my white caps. Try not to touch too much to your yellow. You can leave some white caps for them waves, right? Go over here. And I did manage to make a straight line, but can I paint a straight line? That is the question, right? And I like going away from the center. And remember, we're going to do layers upon layers. So this is not our finished. It's not going to look like this. Now I'm going to rinse my brush. This is a technique. I just dab it a little bit. And this is for loosening up a lot of this starkness by putting just clean water and smoothing it out just a little bit. And you can kind of go into your yellows just a little bit. It makes like this pretty kind of greenish color. Again, this is not going to be the finished outcome. This is going to be a little bit, I'm leaving a lot of white space down here. Don't put it all the way to the sand. Just do a little bit of blue. But that's starting to look good. I may even rinse my brush one more time and smear that yellow towards the blue. And see how I'm lifting it in a way? I'm pushing it also. I'm like trying to, I keep wiping my brush, and that just helps push it. Push all these colors around. I'm showing the watercolor who's boss today, aren't I? Yeah, and that just gives it real soft. It's super soft. And this is kind of hard to show in a whole class, but so hopefully if you took my class yesterday, this is giving you a little extra insight to how to do this really soft, very, very soft transition between the blues and the yellow. That makes that sun reflect, right? We want that. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry because I can see a lot of water on my paper. If yours is a lot more dry than mine, you might have needed to put a little more water on your brush to do that. But here's how I finished mine off, and we kind of joked about mine being ominous looking in like nighttime. And yes, the one on the left is the one I did during class. So it was a little bit like I could hear the Jaws soundtrack in the back of my mind when I was looking at that ocean, that beachy sunset ocean. It's like, don't go in the water. This one, just like it is pretty. I almost don't want to go darker with it, but it does have that little peninsula, and I think I do still want to put some purpley clouds in the sky. And so far I've only been using this brush. I may switch to my smaller round. I have 2 rounds right here that I use all the time. So let's see what happens if I mix up some purple. And I already have this bluish purple on my palette, but I'll show you guys how I do it. So I just kind of mix this purple, this blue and purple. And if I want to go a little darker, I put a little Payne's Gray. And that just goes a little darker. Sometimes I need to mix not all of it, and I want it to go a little darker over here. So I scooped out a little bit of that and mixed more Payne's Gray into here. So now I almost have 2 shades of that same purple. And now I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to scoop up some of this lighter color. And I want to put it over in this side. So I'm going to make these little lines coming in here, and see how light that is. It's not super dark. I may make this one not as dark as my classroom one, and I'm not even sure I know we did this wet and wet. I may just rinse my brush and drag it with some clean water and see what happens. What happens if I just drag a little clean water? Not even wiping it on my brush. What happens? I like that. I don't know. What do you think? Is that looking pretty? I think it looks pretty. That's kind of nice. So I could go darker, or I could just let it dry. I see some really pretty blooms that I just created. I feel like this is gonna look really nice. Might just leave it like that. Maybe this will be my happy sunset beach instead of my dark, scary sunset beach. But I did mix a darker color. If I wanted to keep fiddling, I could put a little bit more in there and just make it a little darker right there. And that's kind of nice. I like that. Maybe a little bit more up here too. Again, follow those rays coming towards the horizon from the corner down. That gives a really pleasant looking composition too, because your eyes have somewhere to go. I mean, we were taught composition in school, in college, but I probably don't follow it too much, except for the rule of thirds. Of course, like, you don't want your horizon dead center. You don't want your sun dead center, although I did accidentally do that. So like I said, do as I say, not as I do. But if you wanted to make it more pleasing, you just want to avoid being too symmetrical in your painting styles when you're doing composition, because it just makes it more interesting for your brain to, and for your clients to look at too. Because think about that, if you're going to sell your paintings, you want it to look kind of nice like that. I'm gonna drink some more tea. All right, I'm looking at my water and I'm thinking maybe now is the time to add some darks. And you know, this purple's already mixed. Might as well put a little bit of the streakiness of waves. Now the waves further away are going to be small. They're going to be tiny little streaks. So use a small brush. Use a small brush. And over here, we're also going to do it. We may end up covering all these streaks. We may be like wasting our time doing these streaks. But for right now, we're doing them. And as you get closer to the bottom of the page, you want to start increasing the size of those streaks and overlapping them a little bit like waves. And you'll get better at this as you do these. Practice them. Always practicing. Picking up more paint and doing the other side. So these are small. And as they get closer to the bottom of the page, they're going to get bigger and bigger. Don't make them like stripes. Waves are not stripy. And you want to overlap them a little bit. Now under some of these white caps, you can go ahead and add some darker blue or purple, but not under this part, just over on the sides. If you left any white. I didn't leave enough white probably. I'm liking how that looks so far. I always take a step back and look at it and be like, do I like that? And I'm rinsing my brush, but look at how the finished piece is. Like, I like the one on the right a little better than the one on the left. Not gonna lie, I think I like that one better, but this one I may even like just like how it is. I might keep it light and fresh instead of trying to make it as dark and stormy as that other one. So now I'm gonna make maybe I'll make a little bit of a reddish orange color. And sometimes we want to, I don't know, I'm afraid to mess it up. But again, I tell you guys, don't worry about messing these things up. Sometimes you gotta be a little bold just to see what happens. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of this kind of burnt reddish color right in here. Because I kind of do want this to be a little bit darker right there. And then I'm going to rinse my brush because this is what I do. I rinse it, kind of tap it on a paper towel, and I'm just going to blend that out just a little bit. You might be like, oh, it was prettier before. Maybe. But I didn't know that until I did this, right? So now I'm going to dry it. And I am going around the sun. I do kind of like that. And I might add a little bit of yellow. Let me see what happens if I add that yellow into this orange that I made. And I'm just going to do it right underneath these waves that I made, the white caps. So I'm making like this shadow. And sometimes I do have to work quickly on this. And I'm just adding a couple more over here. And I'm going to rinse my brush. Rinse, tap it a little bit, and I'm going to smooth out those very stark looking lines because I don't like how stark these look. They're too crisp. I want them to be more loose and soft. But I think that does add some shading in there, which we didn't really do. Hey, Agella, thank you for joining. I love all the emojis. Y'all say hi to Agella. She is so sweet. She's my friend from Russia. And we are like pen pals. We write to each other all the time. And we found each other through Paul Clark, who I learned all my watercolor techniques from him. So if you need to follow only one person for watercolor, please go follow him, Paul Clark. He is awesome. He taught me everything I know because college did not teach me anything about watercolor. It was very sad. But I do like how this is looking with a little bit of orange just underneath those white caps, just underneath them. And it's still kind of moving around. I just added some clean water, cleanish water on there. I may have to do, let me see what I'm going to have to do. Maybe just a little bit more down in this foreground, closer to the water's edge, but I'm just going to smooth it out now. So I put some lines in there and then I used water and just almost like washed it. So it's still there, but it's not as dark. Let's see what else we're gonna work on. So I do still have some turquoisey blue right here that I think would be great to introduce to some of this because the turquoise is so pretty. I may do it more closer to the bottom of this page. And right under this wave, I'm going to kind of follow what I sketched out there kind of. and right here. So I'm sketching, I sketched it with my pencil, but right now I'm just kind of following it. And that's looking really nice. I'm liking how that's looking. And you'll get, as you practice these things, you'll get better at it. So maybe you're like following along and yours isn't looking at as much like mine is looking, but that doesn't mean that you're not learning something. You're actually learning what you like and how to control water. The water to paint ratio is very important. Maybe you haven't figured that out yet, but you will. You'll figure it out. I'm going to just dab the clean water. I'm going to just drag, touch and drag across just a little bit. And I'm going to push it this way so you can, maybe side of it. So I'm just very gently pushing it across. And it's almost doing that dry brush technique that I find very difficult to master, but it'll be all right. That is looking good. I might put a little more purple color over on this side because I think it needs just a little darker. Like that. Okay. I'm liking that right there. And it's starting to look like waves, isn't it? It's starting to look like a beach. Adela says, these pictures I like. Sea, beach, and sun, blue sky, very beautiful look. Bravo, Jacqueline. Thank you so much, Adela. So we are getting to a point where I'm going to add the seagrass, sea oats, whatever you call them, and the peninsula. So we're going to start doing those two things. And look what time it is. It's only 10:43. Like, we have not even been painting for very long. And look at how much we have accomplished. Like, almost could stop, except for that'd be a weird white peninsula right there. But the sand, you wouldn't even have to do the sea oats. But I do think, let's look at the finished painting. We do have some birds we have to put in the sky as well. But the sunset's going to make that peninsula dark in the shadows. And we may end up adding some darker shadows to those waves. So we're doing good though. I think we're doing really good. I'm going to mix up that green for y'all that I made for class. And what I like to use is sap green. So my sap green is dirty-ish looking. So yours might even be more bright and vibrant than that. How I tone down my green and make it more of a sage green is I use this alizarin crimson red. And I just put a little bit in. Might need more water. So I'm getting some of that red and I'm mixing a little bit at a time, not too much. I've noticed sometimes students like to get a big gob of red to mix into their green and then it turns brown. And then they're like, oh, that's not green anymore. And then they have to add more green. But that's okay. Sometimes you don't mix enough paint anyways, so it'll work. All right, if your sand is dry, let's go ahead and start painting some sea oats. And I'm using my number 6, I think, 6 or 8 round. And I'm flicking it up and out. So this whole corner is going to be my sea oats. And then we're going to dip in water and pick up some more paint. We're going to do it on the other side as well. So we're going to flick. And I think compositionally it does look good to have various sizes and heights and crisscrossing them around. So that looks really good. I left a little bit of sand in between. I may end up covering it. It's okay if I do. But that's a good start right there. That's a good start. And we'll probably just let them kind of rest and kind of dry. And then we'll do some darker shadows to bring out those leaves, but we do want to make our tops of our sea oats, which I like this yellow ochre, which is like a dark yellow. And I am going to put some on the tips of these. And you don't have to do them on all of them, but it could be fun to do them on some of them, not all of them. Do some over here. And just here and there, right? Might want to put some right down low, and that'll look good. So we're just gonna let that rest, do its thing. If you feel like your yellow didn't turn out the way you'd want these sea oats to be, you can always lift them. Lift. If you feel like they're too dark, you can do whatever. You can take them out completely by just dabbing your paper towel. But I kind of like how these turned out. They're okay. They're kind of doing some weird blooms. Yellow tends to push all the other colors out, but that's okay. Now I'm going to do the peninsula, and I did show everybody that with my Payne's Gray. So where I had my purple, I'm going to just put some Payne's Gray. And it already dried out. Let's see. I'm going to keep dabbing and getting more out of my palette and mixing it over here where I had my purple. And if you want this Payne's Gray to be less translucent, add a little bit of burnt sienna to it. And that just adds a little bit darker Payne's Gray with that brown. And that is looking like a really good color for me. I like that color. We're going to do the peninsula, and here we go. So I'm starting kind of towards where the sun is, and I'm just kind of going around there. And all peninsulas follow the same kind of shape. They kind of get taller as they get away from the ocean. And look at that. Very nice. Liking that. I like the little gray areas too in it. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can raise it up. I can see some gray areas and darker areas. So I'm just going to let that dry like it is. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I'm going to rinse my brush. And I'm going to go back to my greens because while I wait for that peninsula to dry, I'm going to just add some extra. See, it's the same green, but it's doing a second layer, so it's making it darker. And that looks really nice, I think. Oh yeah, flick them up there. That's pretty. I kind of like how pretty this is. A lot prettier than my dark skies, but I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. I don't think I'm gonna try and go darker with the skies or the water. But I may have to go darker with some of this green. Of course, if I let that dry, it will do what it's supposed to do. And I might mix a little bit of my brown in there, my Payne's Gray brown, and just flick some of that in the bottom. And I might do that here. Oh yeah, look at that. It's giving it good shadows, right? Look at that, good shadows. So that's what I did with that. And like this brown sand, you know, when it's kind of dark by the edge, you can make it look more like the water recedes and leaves dark sand. If you ever look at that, usually it's right along that water's edge, right? So we're just going to add this just to make it a little more realistic. And I know I already painted my flowers and stuff here, my seagrass. So I'm just trying to be careful not to mess that up. But see that darker little edge there? And I think that looks really good. And I'm just going a little bit with the little side of my brush is doing like a dry brush technique. Can you see what I'm doing? Is that close up? I don't know. I thought I'm pretty close, but I can try and zoom in. It won't really let me zoom in too much. Let me see if I can do that. Okay. See how I'm doing like the dry brush across this? That's just making it, because our sand is not totally smooth, right? Can you see how I'm using the edge of that brush? This is called dry brush technique. And I like that. I like that look a lot better than how it was before. Yeah, that looks good. And I could even add just a little bit of that brownish color for the peninsula to my brown and just add just a little bit, like it's almost a shadow now from that wave, from the foam. That foam is coming in. Maybe it's high tide, low tide, I don't know. But it's coming in. And we're seeing that now kind of shadow right there. I think that looks good. You could do a little bit more dry brush if you want, but I think I'm getting close to overworking, as I do. I'm sure you guys do the same thing, right? And I can zoom back out just a little bit. Actually, that is still too zoomed in. Let me see. Go back to that. So now you can see I've got my paints on the side. And I think this is looking pretty good. I'm liking how it looks. The only thing left to do, what is the last thing to do? The birds in the sky, I think is the only thing really left to do. I mean, we could add some more shadows in the yellow areas with the blue, but I kind of like how this is looking. Kind of like this lighter version. And maybe today I am feeling like being more of a light-hearted, light version. So I'm going to get my Payne's Gray. And I'm going to mix up kind of that same color that I did for the mountain peninsula. A little bit of that burnt sienna in there. Maybe burnt umber in there. So see, I've mixed my dark color, and I probably can do my bird with this size brush, but if you have a rigger, this skinny long one, we'll show you how to do that. Hold on a second. Put my little brush to sit for a minute, but I'm gonna wet this brush and put it in the paint. And it's a nice long skinny brush. And here's what I want to show you guys, because a lot of times we don't practice. Let me see if I can help you practice your little birds. Of course, someone's calling me. Don't call me during my live. No, not during the live, right, Janice? Okay, so up, down, down. An M or a V with one side skinny and one side big, or and see the rigger does that. My friend Shannon, she had a little bit of a bigger bird and then some other little birds. We decided that the one bird was Fred bird. And if you're from the Gulf Shores, you would know Fred is a blue heron. Oh, don't do that one. That's no bueno. No bueno. See, this is why we practice. So I am doing a couple V-shaped ones. That looks really great. I like how that one did. I like that one. You could start from down, an M&M kind of shape. That one's a little too rugged. Try and do it in Not like that either. Try and go up, down, up, down. Does that make sense? Jana says correct. So I have practiced a few. I'm going to try it now on the actual painting. This is when you can mess up and screw up your whole painting, right? Be ready with a paper towel because you can always dab him out if he's not good. He or she, these little birds flying in the sky. So I like to do my V-shaped one first. I think right here, I got a little fuzz on there. Hold on. A little fuzzy. All right. So I'm going to do my little V shape, which is great. I did a good one. Woo-hoo. Woo-hoo. It looks great. And sometimes I do a little prayer and see if that helps me to achieve that. And it's not zoomed in. I'm sorry. There we go. We'll pick it up and show you. But you shouldn't have two birds. You should have 3 or 5 or 7. An odd number is what makes our brains happy. I don't know why. Why it makes our brains so happy to have an odd number. But it does. All right. I'm going to do another little M&M one. Possibly right here. And voila, he's a darker one. Can you see him? That's nice. I like that. There's 3 of them. I feel like he needs to be darker here, so I'm going to just add a little bit more pigment to these guys. And now that's super dark. I feel like that might be too dark, but it should dry lighter. Put it all down, everything down, brushes down. Right? Got brushes down. I think this looks pretty, just like it is. I could keep fiddling with it, but I think I'll stop. And it is 11 o'clock anyways, right? And let me look at this. Sometimes you take a picture of it with your phone and you can really look at what you've painted objectively. I always say, take a picture of it with your phone. So like I could do that right now. I could take a picture. So now I can look at it on my phone. And it's kind of hard for you to see my phone, but I can analyze it and say, well, this could be darker, this could be darker, this could be darker. Or maybe I'm like, you know what, I could add a little more bluish green in here. Or I could just leave it and wait till tomorrow and see if I like it tomorrow. That's another thing you can do is wait a day. Because sometimes you don't like it today and tomorrow you like it, right? That's sometimes the case with me. Especially if I am painting a commission for someone and I'm struggling a little bit because I feel like there's an aspect of it that's throwing me. Like I just, maybe the eyes, the nose, whatever. And I have to just like walk away and look at it again in the morning. So that's what I do a lot when I'm doing a commission. Actually, I was thinking about sharing with y'all a picture of a commission I did with the doggy that I painted. Janice says she hates it today, but I bet she'll share it with me still. And I'll see a beautiful sunset. That's what I'll probably see. And you'd be surprised that here's what I did today. And so I can show you back and forth how different today's painting is from yesterday. So different. I could have gone more bold. I was trying to show, when I do a class, I try to show how bold you can really go with your paints. Because a lot of people don't realize watercolor can be dark and moody if you want it to be. But today we're going to be happy. Maybe we're in Hawaii. Maybe we're sitting on the beach and there's no sharks. Maybe that's what's happening today, right? We're having a good day. So I don't know what scripture we're going to do today. Let me see if I want it to be, what do I want it to be today? Yeah, this is good. This is good because it's happy. The happy verses, okay? We like happy, feel-good verses. All of them are useful and help, especially if you're going through something. But today we're happy, so we want to have some happy verses. And it says in Proverbs 16:20, "Trust me and be happy, my dear Jacqueline." Well, this one is personalized for me. "Happy is the one who puts her trust in the Lord." I feel like that is good. That is good reminder to be happy. Be happy. Even if your painting looks like a hot mess, be happy. You have hands, right? Everyone that I think is watching this has hands. So be happy you have hands. Be happy he gave you a desire to make art. Be happy that you can afford some art supplies. Be happy that you can watch this on a phone or TV. Be happy. Let's choose happy. I don't know. I feel like today's, and this is not that big. Remember, you don't have to do the biggest size of your paper. Like if you bought a pad of paper that's 9 by 12, you can cut it smaller. I buy some that are 11 by 14 and I cut them smaller. Sometimes I cut them so small that I make little paintings. This is probably smaller than 5 by 7. And let's see what else. This is a weird little painting I did. It's kind of an ACEO that I did for my challenge, which I didn't even finish my own challenge. Isn't that sad? But I liked how simple this was. Just a small little ACEO size, right? Small, small, small. So you don't have to do large paintings the size of a billboard. You know, sometimes I do go large when I get a commission. They want something huge. I'm like, whoa, that's going to take some time and some brain power, because it does take a little bit of power in our brains to figure out how to paint larger. Like if I were to paint this 11 by 14, I would approach it a little different. But that's just because it would be larger. But this was very doable. We could do this. Y'all can do this. I think Janice sent me her picture. Let me see. You're not terribly upset. Okay, good, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And Jerry, are you painting? Yay, Jerry's painting. Yay, it looks beautiful. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Y'all, you're so talented. Thank you, my painty ladies. We all met, well, Janice met me at the Jubilee Arts and Crafts Show, and then she said she stalked me for a little while, which I didn't even know. So, but then we met again on TikTok, and Jerry was on TikTok, and we all are local. April is on TikTok. We got a lot of local artists that are on TikTok, which I'm like, what? And I like YouTube for long form videos, like going live, long form. I have a good setup for my YouTube channel through OBS I use. And if you ever want to know how I set up and go live on YouTube, let me know. Maybe I'll do a video about it, but I could also just point you to who I learned from. But he's got so many videos. You would have to watch 10 hours at least of videos. Because that's probably, I did more than that. Trying to figure out how to do OBS. But it's a free streaming platform or software that you can download on your computer, and you just You can do plugins. I don't do anything fancy with mine. I don't do fancy frames or anything. I just know how to transition from screen to screen. Unless, of course, I forget to transition and you see the side of my head the whole 1 hour that I paint, which luckily today we didn't do that. But I can show like zoomed out. I can show my samples that I have on an image from somewhere else. I can show my soap. I can do all this I learned how to do. And I'm, well, middle-aged, I guess, is what I am. I'm not quite an old lady, but in my 50s. So, but I hope today inspired you all to paint. I hope that you give it a go, as Paul Clark likes to say at the end of his videos, give it a go. If you did like this video, make sure you like it. If you haven't subscribed yet, it would really help me. I've reached 1,000 followers on YouTube, and I'm so excited that all I need now are watch hours. So if you're watching my videos, that's great. That helps me out. If you're liking them, I think it helps the algorithm figure out what other people would like to see. Maybe they like me. I don't know. But I've really enjoyed hanging out with you guys today. I have a busy schedule. I'm going to go make some soap because I've gotten into making soap and it's so addictive. I love it and it's great. And I'm almost out of using 2 bars of the soap I've made so far. Back in, what was it? May, end of May, I made my first bars of soap and I'm almost out. So they last a long time, y'all. You got to let them cure for a month, but they do last. And I'm going to be doing some classes. I know a few of you are interested in a class. I might do a shorter class. I think a 5-hour class was a lot for people. Might have to go a little shorter, or was it 4 hours? I don't know. It might have been a 4-hour class, but I'll try and get it to 2 hours. And that'd be more doable. But I'm going to go make some more soap probably, and got to get a new rental all changed over, so I got to do some cleaning and things like that. But that's all I have for y'all today. So I hope you have a blessed day and love y'all.